Hey guys, so today is the first day it has stopped raining in like a week, I swear. And it was 70 degrees like 2 weeks ago. It was really feeling like summer almost, fall summer obviously. And today it's 45 degrees, but that's okay. I want to show you, since it's the beginning of spring and we have all of these Eastern Redbud trees that are blooming. See that? This is my favorite tree. Why? Because it's usually the first sign that spring's here, and I usually believe that winter is completely gone when I start seeing sprinkles of purple flowers all over the fields where the tree line meets, because usually they're in the tree line. And then also, I love these flowers because they are completely edible. Now, redbud flowers are completely edible, and you should totally eat them. They taste great. They are really good in raw salads. They make a great garnish to some of your dishes. And you want to start using them when the blooms start to open. I don't know if that's clear enough for you guys to see. Sorry, we're in a neighborhood. You're going to hear dogs. You're going to hear my son practicing batting practice. And you're going to see cars drive by, but that's okay. So today though, I want to show you how we're going to make redbud jelly. Now, the great thing about redbuds is they are high in vitamin C. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to get your daily amount from these little redbuds. They do taste pretty good. A little floral, but good. A little tang at the end. But what we're going to do is we're going to collect the redbud so that we can make redbud jelly. You can also make redbud syrup. And this is not a medicinal plant. You're not going to get healing properties from your redbud, but it is just a great flower to forage, and something that you can forage in your backyard if you have these trees, or if you're like me and you have just a little bit. I'm also going to knock on some of my neighbors' doors and see if they don't mind if I steal some of their redbud flowers. I mean, I'm probably the only one in this neighborhood making jelly anyways. And I will definitely give them a little jar. But, you know, jelly is mostly sugar, and so this is just a treat. This is just a fun treat. You can do this with your kids. You can do this with your mom or your dad, or you can just do it by yourself like I do sometimes. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to collect the redbud flowers, and to do a normal batch, you probably want about 2 cups of redbud flowers. I'm going to try and get about 4 cups. So I am doubling my recipe because I like to do double the work with less cleanup. So I like to make a big batch of things, and hopefully I can give some of these away as gifts. This makes a beautiful like hot pink fuchsia jelly, and it tastes really good on toast. Homemade sourdough, of course. I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna show you. You can easily see, like, take this branch right here. It's got a couple little branches on here. Redbud flowers come like this, where they're flowers on a bunch of little stems. See that? And you don't really want the stems. If you want to sit here and go ahead and put them all in here at the same time, you can. Or you can go ahead and also just pick the flowers off like that, kind of. And then here's the stems. See? And then you can just throw that in the grass. It will decompose for the worms. It's a win-win for everybody, right? So I'm going to go through and start collecting all of our redbud flowers, and I will catch up to you when I get a whole bunch. And this might take a while, but like I said, I am super happy to be outside right now. 45 degrees it's okay. The sun is out. It's finally shining. There's no more rain. The rest of the week is going to be nice. It's even going to be 70s next weekend, which means hopefully I can get some of those dandelions and make a dandelion jelly or cookie. I don't know. We'll see. Stay tuned, because I have more recipes we can make with some of the things that we forage. Oh, and the neighbors are coming out and my kids are with them. So I better go start harvesting these. All right, let's go. Oh, let me just chime in for a second, because another great thing about the Redbud is that this is one of the first flowers that is blooming in springtime. So this is a great reason to have these trees, because it's a great because this is a great first food for the bees and the bugs and the butterflies and the birds if they eat these flowers too. But it's a perfect food for them as spring is going and there's not a whole lot of flowers out right now. So you'll see these blooming everywhere, and so I'm gonna get back to picking. I'm not gonna pick them all. I'm gonna leave enough for the bees too. So take what you want, leave some for the bees. Good. Okay, so I've been picking the stems off, but I'm really not trying to overcomplicate this for us. So let me show you, this is kind of how it looks when you pick it off. And you see how there's that tiny little brown stem at the end, that's a little piece of the tree. That's the part you can take off. You don't have to worry about taking all those tiny little stems off, because we're steeping this as tea and then straining it. So none of it's gonna be in our jelly anyways. So don't take 10 hours to pick all these little stems off. Just pick that tiny little brown piece off, which is the tree, and move along. So this is gonna go a lot faster now. So you can just snag these right off the tree and then take that little woody piece off. And there you have it, good to go. Now, once you've gathered all of your redbud flowers, the second step is to bring them inside, and we're putting on a whole bunch of water that we're boiling so that we can steep the tea in. Oh, we're ready. Things are getting crazy around here. Turn that baby off. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure out my redbud flowers and put them in a glass jar, since this is what I'm going to steep our tea in. So for this recipe, I'm gonna put into the notes where you can just use 2 cups, so that way you can make a more manageable size portion of jelly if it's just for you and your family. However, I picked a ton of redbud flowers, so I'm actually making a big batch, and this is gonna make about 22 quarter jar servings of this jelly that I'm gonna can and give out as gifts, or also sell on my local homestead site later. So use however much you want to do, but I will include the smaller portion, and then you can double or triple it however you feel fit. So now that we got all of our redbud blossoms in the jar, we're going to top it off with boiling hot water. And this is so that we can steep and make a really pretty tea out of this. So basically the way you can think about it is you're gonna put 1 cup of hot water per 1 cup of buds that you've gathered. I have about 8 cups of buds, so I'm using about 8 cups of hot water. And then once we get all the hot water in there, basically I'm just gonna take whatever utensil I have, and I'm just trying to push all of the red buds underneath the water so that they're all gonna steep. You can see this is starting to turn kind of a yucky yellow brown color. It's not the most appealing at first, but this is why you have to let this tea steep in the fridge for about 24 hours, at least 12, but 24 hours would be better, because it's really gonna pull all the beautiful red pink blossom color out of it, and then you're gonna be left with a beautiful color tea that once we add lemon juice is gonna become very, very vibrant. So now that it's been 24 hours that our tea has been steeping in the refrigerator, it's time to strain it. I like to put 2 strainers on top of each other just to make sure I'm really catching any of the leaf bits that are coming out or separating from the blossom. But you can do it however you feel fit. You can even run it through the strainer a couple times. So I'm pouring all of our blossoms in there, and then what I'm going to do is let this drain, and then I'm also going to use a spoon to push down on the flowers to make sure that we get all of the liquid, because a lot of these flowers are absorbing a lot of the tea. So we want to make sure that we get all the tea. Unless you have a ginormous strainer, I don't. So this is gonna probably take multiple batches if you are doing a large batch like I am. So feel free to just, keep doing what I'm doing, pouring, straining, and then pushing it through with a spoon. And afterwards, you should be left with this beautiful pink tea ready to be made into jelly. Now you can skip this step if you're not going to can your jelly, as you can just put it in the freezer and use it from there. But I'm gonna fill up this stock pot with hot water, get it boiling, and put all of my 1/4 pint jars in there so they can sterilize while I get my ingredients ready for the jelly. Now this simple recipe only uses 4 ingredients, and we're gonna start with using our Redbud tea that we steeped, then followed by organic raw cane sugar. I'm also using organic lemon juice, and then we're gonna follow that up with Sure Gel pectin. Make sure not to get the low sugar kind. So the first step to make our jelly is we're going to pour all of our Redbud tea into a stock pot onto the stove, and we're going to bring it to a boil. Now that the Redbud tea is boiling, we're gonna add 6 tablespoons of lemon juice. 1, 2, doesn't have to be perfect. Because nothing I ever cook is perfect. 4, 5, oh my gosh. 6, all right, there we go. And now that's made that a much brighter fuchsia, adding that lemon juice. So we're gonna give that a quick stir. Now we're gonna add our pectin, and I'm using 9 tablespoons, so adjust yours for your recipe. We're gonna stir this in and bring this to a boil for 1 minute. Starting to boil, so we will set our timer on 1 minute. Now that it's been 1 minute, we're gonna add all of our sugar, and I'm using raw organic cane sugar. Put that all in at once. We're gonna stir this around, dissolve it, bring it to a boil, and then boil it for another whole minute once that's all dissolved. Smells like sweet jelly. All right, so now that it is boiling, we are going to start our timer for another minute. Still stirring as we can. It will foam up a little bit, but it's okay. All right, we can turn this off now. Now we're going to carefully ladle this into our jars and leave about 1/4 inch at the top. A little bit more. I put a paper towel underneath because it gets messy. Look how pretty that color is. Now that these are all filled, we're going to carefully wipe the rim clean. Then we can go ahead and put on a lid, a ring. These can be stored in the refrigerator, but I am going to water bath can them. So I'm not gonna put it too tight, but I'm gonna put these in a water bath and can these so they're shelf stable. I think this is one of the most breathtaking jellies that you can make from wild trees in your yard. It's just a beautiful color, has a light, fresh floral taste, and very sweet. So to water bath can these jars of jelly, I just put them in the water bath while it's boiling for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, I can safely remove these and set them aside. You have to be very careful because these are very hot. So I was able to can 22 jars of jelly, and this is my favorite part. Wait for it. Right there. That means that this jar is completely sealed now, and I'm gonna let it rest and cool down, and it is shelf stable. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you liked this video, please make sure to subscribe so that you can stay tuned to all the other videos I'm going to post about the things you can do on your homestead or your yard. And I know that you would love this video, so you should totally check this one out too. Thanks so much, and see you guys later.